The day is April 6th, 2019. Ring of Honor is housing their biggest show in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. It's been a few months since Ring of Honor lost the presence of the Elite, and now they're rushing to try to find a new heir to the Ring of Honor throne, who would lead them into a brand new era. The fate of that throne lay all in the hands of the most important match in Ring of Honor history. A triple threat ladder match with the defending Ring of Honor World Champion Jay Lethal.
Listen up, wrestling fans!
Fan favorite Marty Scurll, and the wild card, Matt Taven. Going in, fans were lobbying hard for Scurll, as he was the last piece of the Elite left after everybody else had jumped ship. But would he be the face of the next era? Would he be the guy? Was he going to become champion? Well, the match happened. Minutes passed by, and somebody did climb to the top. But it wasn't Scurll who held the belt in his hands on that fateful day. No, it was the man everybody least expected.
I mean, yes! Matt Taven has done it!
What I do know is that this title is going absolutely nowhere. And that I deserve to hold this gold forever because I've earned the right to call myself the Ring of Honor World Champion.
The trials and tribulations of Matt Taven as champion truly began the night he won the belt. The fans were bound to reject him in any fashion because Party Marty was the most popular man in the company, and so Ring of Honor was trusted to make the right outcome and strap a rocket to Scurll. And when they didn't, fans revolted. Not everybody was against Taven, as some believed that Taven had been grinding for a long time and deserved a run with the belt, but the writing was pretty much on the wall. It didn't help the show was already shaping up to be a disaster in the long run, with such great moments as Kenny King eliminating two of the most over men in New Japan to win an Honor Rumble, Enzo and Cass making a one-night appearance and being rejected by the New York faithful, and this moment, which really was the cherry on top of this shit Sunday. But Taven's run couldn't have been all bad, right? There had to have been some good hiding in there somewhere. Well, let's dig a little deeper. Taven's record as champion was 12-6, earning his losses mostly in multi-man matches. He defended the belt 10 different times against a bevy of opponents, including Mark Haskins, Tracy Williams, Jeff Cobb, Alex Shelley, among a few others. Upon winning the World Championship, he was also one-third of the, at the time, current 6-man tag team champions. With this world title win, Matt Taven was now the second Grand Slam champion in Ring of Honor history, holding every single belt during his 7-year run. So perhaps it could have been that he was holding way too much gold? Well, let's keep digging. As I previously mentioned, Taven was heavily scrutinized as the champion due to the popularity of one Marty Scurll. You see, the Elite was kind of a big deal. The fans were heavy on the train around that time, and when they left, the fans followed. What fans there were left were jaded by the departure of such important stars. Scurll was the final piece of the Elite left in Ring of Honor, and when he didn't win, I get why people would reject it. Fans also rejected Matt Taven, allegedly, because he wasn't the guy that they wanted, and I guess I kind of agree with that too, but Taven wasn't a bad champion on the surface. He had grinded since 2012 and had been building up his stock so that in due time, he was ripe for a title opportunity at some point. Digging a little deeper tells me that Scurll was the guy originally lined up for an opportunity, but after Taven and Lethal had a 60-minute Iron Man match the previous month that ended in a draw, I know, it's pretty stupid, Taven was thus added to this match. That may have been the catalyst for the fans beginning to sour on him. Another issue was the lack of viable talent. With the Elite jumping months before, it was hard enough to find someone who was going to lead Ring of Honor into the future. The lack of talent ready for a world title that wasn't a member of the Elite was frankly scary to even think about. Taven liked his run with the belt. In a very recent interview, he praised some of the opponents he faced while saying he was proud to hold the top gold.
And when you go back and you watch, I think me and Ballad Jr., me and Tracy Williams, me and Flip, me, Jay Lethal, and Kenny King in New York, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch that later. Even I like the Alex Shelley match. There's so many. I mean, there was just match after match after match.
I mean, that's obvious. Who wouldn't want to be world champion? Well, perhaps I'm not digging deep enough. He was never a bad wrestler. He had a story to bank on, but what could have sullied a reign like this? Well, the seeds were planted on the day of, and soon the real reasons began slipping through the cracks. Fans just said he was kind of boring. Not a terrible talent, but nothing truly stood out about Matt Taven that people would be high enough on him to want a title run. His team, the Kingdom, were pegged as quote-unquote low-rent indie heels. Matt Taven and Vinny Marseglia, another member of the group, facing off against Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi, two of the biggest names in New Japan, quote, while being dressed like dorks and doing nipple-twisted spots was painfully bad. Made Ring of Honor look so low-tier putting those guys in that spot as if to say it was the best they could offer. Unquote. The general consensus was that there was nothing special about Matt Taven. Nothing stood out. He was never a fantastic wrestler or a great gimmick or just a 5-star promo. He was just the guy. And while you could admit that at a time in the past, another man pegged as the guy, Roman Reigns, was on the same level as Matt Taven, because there weren't things about him that stood out, but it was made much clearer last year when Reigns turned heel that he wasn't a flash-in-the-pan kind of guy. Reigns had a lot of potential, and when he became a bad guy, it became some of the best work he's done on TV. With Reigns, all it took was a gimmick change to unleash his potential and skyrocket him to the top. But that wouldn't work for Taven, because nothing really stood out about him, other than calling people Melvins, but that's for another time. But besides fan reaction, was there a reason that Taven's reign was a disaster for the company? Well, yes. Ah yes, here we go. Ring of Honor put the belt on Taven as a last-ditch effort to keep Marty Scurll from leaving and defending the belt elsewhere. Ring of Honor was in a downturn. About a month and a half after Taven dropped the belt, Joey Mercury, now in a backstage role for the company, was spouting tweets openly bashing Ring of Honor for their lack of medical awareness, communication with the talent, and touching upon the status of some of the stars in the company. Greg Gilliland, the GM for Ring of Honor, made the call to put the belt on Taven, quote, because we knew Taven would stay, but we couldn't get him over, unquote. So here's the skinny. Ring of Honor management didn't even think Taven was a viable world champion, only putting the belt on him to save their asses in the long run. Scurll was on the outs with the company at the time, and putting the belt on him wouldn't have been a good long-term decision even considering the circumstances. And so Matt Taven was chosen as the man to take the reins. As a result, attendance suffered and business was down considerably, with Taven taking a large amount of the blame just because he was the company's main champion. Truly a sad tale. Taven dropped the belt to CMLL star ROH at Death Before Dishonor on September 27, 2019, ending his reign proper at 174 days. Soon enough, the Kingdom broke apart when Vinny Marseglia turned against Taven and attacked him after a match. Taven wrestled in a few more matches to close out 2019, and then took an extended hiatus for the better part of about a year. As he was out, COVID began flooding the country, and Ring of Honor wasn't even doing shows. But in August of 2020, they revived their weekly programming. In November, Taven returned to sort out some unfinished business with the newly minted Vincent, and reformed the Kingdom with Mike Bennett. He had a pretty rough unsanctioned match with Vincent at the recent 19th anniversary show, and also challenged for the tag belts along with Bennett. One couldn't fully blame Taven for the run that he had with the top belt on Ring of Honor. If anything, he should be praised. Taven made the best out of a bad situation. Everybody was against him, and he prospered and tried his absolute damnedest to make his case to hold the belt. Despite the odds being against him, Taven held his own. He continued to grind and be the torchbearer for a company during a downturn. So at the end of the day, the title reign kinda has me split. On one hand, Taven wasn't the quote-unquote guy. He wasn't who everybody wanted to prosper in the changing times of Ring of Honor. But on the other hand, Taven didn't have a very bad reign with the belt from a wrestling perspective. A lot of people were just against the idea because there was more talent that Ring of Honor could have hung their hat on instead of him. I'm glad Matt Taven is in a good position now within Ring of Honor. Sure, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Ring of Honor anymore, but I respect the hell out of Matt Taven for sticking through it, through everything. I truly think that under better circumstances, Taven would have been a great world champion. It just came at about the worst time for a company on a nosedive, which is the saddest tale of all.